Hello! Welcome. Thanks for tuning in if you're out there. My name is Grigor, and today what I'm going to be doing is a little bit of coloring just for relaxing. I'm going to be coloring in the vintage horror adult coloring book, which is right below in the carousel. Now, if you're watching somewhere besides Amazon Live, go ahead and check us out on Amazon Live. That's where I'll be seeing your chat for sure. But yeah, we're going out to other locations just in case you're elsewhere. But yeah, let's get to it. I want to show you what I'm going to be coloring today. This is the Vintage Horror Adult Coloring Book. And this is done by Cheap Chills. That's us. Hello. And this was actually pages from classic horror comics, edited by Cheap Chills, aka Ben Walker-Storey. But it's all real panels from vintage pre-code comic books. Pre-code meant that people were making comics as kind of gruesome and weird as they wanted to, and there wasn't a whole lot of or any oversight. So what we did is got these vintage pages, laid them out, stripped out all the color, and just left the nice rich blacks. Kind of like what a comic book artist would get if they were the colorist after the inker was done. And the other thing that I did to make it a little extra cool is these backs are blank so that you can, be assured that it's not going to, your coloring isn't going to bleed through onto your artwork. And then I laid it out as spreads to give it more of a comic book feel. Left side, right side. So, you could thumb through and pick something and pretend that there's not a post-it hanging out of the top like I already decided. Let's see here. The great thing about these old comics, the horror comics, is they would have, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 stories in each issue, and each one would be introduced by this sort of horror host, which is something that I aspire to be. And so, yeah, you'd have like this first panel with this sort of, what is this, like a train hobo or something, and he's sitting on skulls reading scary stories. And this scary story is about a guy with all kinds of, I don't know, all his parts aren't real, and his new wife finds out about it. Anyway, I was looking at this page here. It's a similar kind of thing where you got Grandma Gruesome and her dead time story. See what they did there? I mean, look at Grandma Gruesome. Can we see that? Can we zoom in at all? Am I playing with fire? Probably. I mean, look at that. And I think we did a pretty good job of stripping out all the color and keeping it nice and crisp and clean with the artwork. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do something with this page. I'm going to be using the Cali Art alcohol pens, Cali Art alcohol markers. This is a pack of 100 that I'm using, and they're so inexpensive that just getting a pack of 100 is an amazing deal. You might as well just grab a lot of them. And I'll talk more about these markers in it as I work, but if you've never worked with alcohol markers before and you're unsure, I also have in the carousel below the 40 pack, which is crazy cheap. But the great thing about the 100 pack is that you can really work with a lot of subtle differences in color and really get some interesting blends, and there's not going to be too extreme differences going on with the colors, if that makes sense. I've got a million light colors, a million dark colors, and everything in between. Plenty to work with. So, I don't know if you caught the thumbnail for this video, but I'm going to be doing a similar color scheme, I think. A sort of strange pinks and oranges and blues. It's good to kind of have a color scheme in mind. So we've got this sort of weird yellow green. That's great for your horror comics. What else could we use? We'll need a nice weird hot pink. Oh, let me see if I can get this in camera here. This is the 100 pack. Look at all these. Crazy inexpensive for this set. And if you've ever worked with alcohol markers and you know the leading brand, I have not noticed a difference. I think this brand Cali Art works great. Nothing's dried out or anything like that. Nothing's getting difficult to get the inks out or anything. They all look beautiful. Where was I? I was picking out a couple colors. So we've got, I think I want more of like a navy blue, just like a straight blue and then a navy blue. I think that'll work. And then it's always good to have a couple shades of gray to kind of help with the lights and darks, and so that you're not introducing a million different colors into your composition, right? Gray matches everything. How's everybody doing today? How's our Tuesday going? Hello. Find anything good on Amazon yet? And then maybe I'll get like a really stark yellow too. Lightning yellow, this one's called. Oh, we haven't gotten our weird pinks yet. A lot of the old monster comics and magazine covers just had really purposefully garish color schemes that I really respond to. Bright pink. And one more, like a weird orange to go with this. Here it is. Orange. Great. So now I can kind of set these others aside for a minute. So when you're coloring, it's good to go light to dark as far as your color choices, not left to right, I mean. So my lightest colors are going to be this yellow, green, and yellow, so I'll start with those. Again, I'm working in the Vintage Horror Adult Coloring Book by Cheap Chills. That's us. By the way, the interesting thing about this book that nobody else has done yet is these are the panels, these are the pages from Interior Classic Comics, but the words are all missing and the colors are missing. So that means you get to write your own dialogue and stuff, make it say whatever you want, which I think is hilarious. Okay, let's see here. What can we do? Get into Grandma Gruesome here a little bit. Sorry, it's hard to talk and color at the same time, but let's see, where else can we... It's interesting with coloring and comics even. It's different than painting, because painting you want to really kind of make sure that every area is a slightly different color than the next to kind of have a center of interest. When you're doing comics, and in this case coloring, it's better to kind of just have a color scheme and fill in a lot of areas with the same colors to kind of keep it more cohesive, more like a rock poster or something like that. Back in the day, were printed with limited color schemes in the first place, so they kind of had to make it work with what they had. The point is, I'm trying to see where I can put this green as much as possible. How about this skeleton back here? I don't know. Now this doesn't look like your typical coloring book with, just lines only. Very obvious areas to color in. This is real comic book artwork that has been inked but not colored. So what's cool about that is you can just run color over an entire area, like this skeleton that's in the shadows there. You just go over the whole area and it colors in the skeleton and you're done. Where did my yellow go? I should tape this down. The great thing about laying this out with these spreads, with coloring going on the left and the right side, for me, not just that it looks cool like an old comic, but also, if you're left-handed, at least half the pages are going to be easier to color in, because usually it's all happening on the right over here, and that can be difficult if you're not right-handed. My goal is for this to all sort of match color-wise, and for your sort of natural color schemes to not really apply. I'm not worried about what people's skin might actually look like. Except this guy. I don't know. You'll also notice that there's no fear of, having colors run. They're not gonna, they're not gonna make the ink bleed in this book. It all stays nice and crisp. What else can we do? I think I'm gonna change things up and do a background. Now you'd think that this beam of light here should stay pretty light, but I'm going to make it kind of medium tone with this orange, and that way the crown and the skull will stand out. Oh, Grandma Gruesome. Couldn't all grandmas tell weird horror stories in some kind of basement? While I'm coloring, I'll tell you about some more of the products that I've picked out to feature in this stream. I might also, at some point, pull out some Crayola Silly Scent markers. And this is a product that I'm super excited about. Just came out pretty recently. And it's 2 packs of markers that are pretty kid-friendly, you know. Obviously, they're Crayola. And 1 pack smells like fruit and sweet stuff, and the other pack smells like gross stuff. And you can combine them to make sort of, you know, rotten fruit sort of smells. All kinds of weird combinations. I mean, if you're going to be coloring, you might as well have it smell kind of weird. Let's see here. What could we do next? Oh, might as well color in this area here. Take a second to just put some pink in there. And again, since it's mostly black, you can just run over everything and it won't matter. Trying to not be too sloppy and get into the speech bubble here. Pink bat while we're at it, I guess. Well, I was hoping to do the whole spread, but this kind of takes a while, so I think we'll just do this side today. If you think I look familiar, thank you. This is Grigor from the Cheap Chills Show. Nice of you to notice. It seems like the artists that did these pages were really having a lot of fun. There's all kinds of like little hidden faces in the shadows. Okay. I'm not going to go nuts on this area here. My wife calls me Renderella because I can't stop rendering everything out. Get it? Sorry. All right, let's see what's next. Dare I give this guy a pink cloak? Oops. Yeah, since I got kind of sloppy around there, maybe I'll look like it's on purpose by going around with this pink. Gruesome accidents, that's what we call them. Does that do anything? Well, it's fine. So these markers have two tips, and luckily two caps, or you'd really be in trouble. And one is more of a foam brush, and the other is the chisel tip, it's called. Chisel tip's pretty versatile because you can use like the pointy side and still get in to tight areas, or you can get into those details with the brush side. Brush side is also great if you want to do like colored line work. Okay, so again, just trying to make this as weird as possible. Maybe a little bit of yellow here. And then get these pinks. Oh, I'm out of frame. Okay. You ever watch Bob Ross? I'd be watching Bob Ross and always thinking like, oh, you messed up. And then he'd fix it and it'd be fine. Is there really any messing up in painting, coloring, whatever? Probably. Okay, I think I'm just gonna give this some pink smoke while I'm at it. Well, that almost went black. That's so dark. Yeah, that's good. I'd rather not overthink things too much when I'm coloring. That's why I pulled out a limited color palette, so there's not really any wrong answers as I'm coloring, but if you start overthinking it, then it's not gonna ever get anywhere. That went awfully dark, but maybe that'll lighten up as it dries. Hello! Let's see here. What if... How... Oh, you know what I need? I need some test paper. It's always good to have a little bit of paper nearby. Oh, I forgot. Ah, dang. I forgot my other rule. The other rule is to have a little piece of paper in between your coloring, because this stuff really went through a few pages. That's all right. Artist tape, should have featured that in the carousel too. Artist tape is kind of low tack tape that isn't hopefully going to mess up your paper. Okay. And then you got the test paper. Kind of figure out what colors you're going to use. Get a reminder what they look like before you put them down. That might actually be good for her cloak here. All right, pro tip. This was a medium gray kind of blue. I've got other blues. They're all kind of in the same color family. Gray, like I said, matches everything. Blue-gray especially there. And then orange is going to be on the opposite side of the color palette, the color spectrum. So they're complementary. And then your reds and pinks are nearby that orange. So they're also going to match pretty nicely. And that's it. That's all the colors. Except I've got this yellow-green for extra weirdness. Let's see here. What was this one? No. Guess I'll use this again. I'm taking too much advantage of that color. I want something really bright. Just kind of exaggerating the colors a little bit to make a sort of highlight stand out there. All right. Oh, here's a good example of what I was talking about with having some gray hanging around, which actually this is probably too dark for what I'm thinking of doing. And this one? No, that's blue. Cool gray 2. Great. There's all kinds of weird creatures circling Grandma Gruesome here. This one's kind of Kafka-esque here. So gray matches everything, like I said. Kind of could leave it gray, but I might see what happens if I add some yellow down here. Make sort of a dark yellow, which is weird but works. Yeah, you could even... What would happen if I put some orange down here? Nothing great. This is another gray, and that way it'll kind of turn this orange into a warm shadow. That's my hope. That looks better. You guys ever do any coloring? I want this skull to look super weird and stand out, so let's see. All right. So one thing that I've noticed happens in these old comics that seems pretty smart is they would take anything that's like not a big like part of the story, like Grandma Gruesome is the center of interest. So if you're not the center of interest, you're probably just going to get a big swath of color over everybody. But you want to make sure that it's not too dark, is all. It's hard to see on camera, but these markers kind of go over each other and combine sort of like in a transparent way, like watercolors might. So it kind of makes an interesting little transition between that yellow green and then the blue, and then they mix and make like sort of a medium green in between. The great thing about going over this stuff with other colors and with this gray is it desaturates your colors, and that's going to look a little better. It's going to not look so much like some kind of candy land. Especially if you want something to look like vintage or retro. It's not going to be super bright colors. It'll look like it's been around for a while, you know? What could we do that's interesting now? We could get a little bit of extra color on her face. I don't know. That's not helping. No, that made it look like it was on purpose, at least. Let's see if we can zoom in on this a little bit. There it is. There. All right, and I think we'll just finish up this panel here. Maybe think of some stuff to talk about in the speech bubbles. And I'll talk about some of the other products that I use for that stage. Let's put these back. Let's see. All right, we've got some ghouls up here. Oh, and we've got the text. We can't ignore that. I think you can see now that there's these like little hidden faces back here. It's pretty fun. All right, what could this ghoul be wearing? I think we're going to try to keep them pretty subtle. All right, I think he needs some pretty strange hair, like this guy could be the same color. Looks like I missed one spot here between a rat and this guy's face. There we go. All right, what's left? I don't even know what this is down here. Do we know? Clarity is always a goal when you're an illustrator, but it doesn't always work out. What is that? It's almost like a knitting project that she had set aside. Pink. Not really sure what that's supposed to be, so I'm just going to make it kind of blend in with everything else. Oh, it looks like rats are hanging out on some yarn or something. All right. Maybe this rat up here could be pink too. Take a second to get this title figured out here. Grandma Gruesom's Dead Time Stories. While I put some thought into that, let me show you some of these other products that I have in the carousel. I've got this pen here that I might use for doing the lettering, because you can write your own story in here. And it's the Pentel brush pen. And this is a lot of illustrators go to pen, especially people who do comics. And the great thing about this one that's not like any other brush pen out there is, let's see here, where is this? Okay. It's hard to see, but there are actual fibrous hairs down here at the tip, just like a real brush, where most brush pens are going to have the foam like we see here. That's just a piece of triangular foam, you know. This one's got real brush hairs, which seems to make all the difference when you're drawing. And so let's see here. That is down here in the carousel. Pentel Art Portable Pocket Brush Pen. And I would say if you're gonna pick one of these up, go ahead and just grab the refills while you're at it, because they're refillable and you actually kind of run out of ink faster than you'd think, because it's like a dip pen, you know, where you're really kind of putting a lot of black out. So it's not to the point where it's not cost effective, but you might as well have some refills handy besides the two that come with the pen. So we'll set that down there for now, and let me figure out what we're going to do with this. So with the Grandma Gruesome, we want to make sure that it's nice and readable. I think the word gruesome has to be the same yellow-green, because that's nice and gruesome. Oh, you know, probably could do like a half half the letter down here. I think I'm just going to do the same down here. I really make an effort to not like reinvent the wheel with every little area that I'm trying to work on in my art or coloring, you know. If you kind of use the same, I don't want to call it formula, but formula, then at least everything kind of matches, you know. It doesn't look like too crazy. This is just a super light yellow. I could leave that white little gap there, but then it starts to look like chrome. I don't want it to look like chrome. Actually, if you go over that green down there, it kind of helps blend everything together. Alright, and then there's just a little spider there that is going to have to get hit with something. There's nothing pink up here. Maybe I'll do another pink. Now these alcohol markers, you know, there's fluid in there. It's not water, it's alcohol, obviously. And so what happens is you put down your color and it'll look kind of dark. And you'll be kind of scared that things will disappear on you like that spider did. But I think as it dries, it'll stand out enough. And then lastly, you know, this panel is introducing a story. So we've got the first two panels of that story down here, which I should probably just do something with while I'm here. Why not? This is my cameraman, Steve. Thank you, Steve. I don't miss him. These guys need to be like sort of sun-weathered. Oh, but you know what? Everything's got to still match, I think. Can't stand out too much as being completely different colors, right? But they can't be yellow-green. What colors? I'm going to go super subtle then, I guess. Rouge red. Got a few like go-to Caucasian colors, but I guess that'll be fine. Barely beige, yeah, that'll work. Yellow ochre, that sounds pretty yellowy. Might be kind of funny if one of these guys is like super tan right here. If we made the sky just the same blue as on Grandma's dress, that would be acceptable. If you haven't read a lot of comics, the line coming down like a little tail means they're talking, and the little dots coming up like a cloud means they're thinking. Wow, it's really dark. All right, so the only panel that hasn't been addressed at all is this one with some kind of deathbed scene going on. What would be good? I think I want to keep with sort of the neutrals and the flesh tones, because this is supposed to look like some kind of Knights of the Round Table kind of story, I think. Something like that. Something medieval. So I'm not going to go as garish with the colors. You keep it kind of impressionistic down here. One of my markers from one of my other sets snuck in, so it's got a different end there. How's that? Probably just like a orangey, browny sort of color here for the bed. If I was in a cheating mood, I'd get like the highlighters and really make things bright and crazy in areas, but we won't do that. What's this monk guy wearing? Pink? how do you go wrong with the pink? It's coming off as more of a raspberry red anyway. And then I think that this guy back here would have like a gray outfit. And then we need something really, where did that super bright pink go? Because right here, we've got like somebody praying over this dying man, so I want to make sure he kind of stands out a little bit more. So he'll be pink. Okay, great. So now all I have to do is come up with some stuff that they'll be saying. Hey Lamont, what's going on? Yeah, this is Character Animator. It is. Hello. So, what could they be talking about? Thank you, sir. That's a lot of brown. All right, well, let's get into it with these guys here. I've got this mechanical pencil, and it's got, I believe, yeah, blue lead inside. Because I don't want to blow anybody's mind, but lettering and handwriting is not my thing. But I'll just kind of put some super light guidelines down, freehand style. I don't know how much Grandma's going to be saying, but put some, you can barely see them on video, and that's good. It means that I can see them enough to write on them as guidelines, but they're not going to be too imposing. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing down here. This is like doing improv. I know I got to say something, but I have no idea what these people are going to say. What if she would say, like, oh wait, I'm a little out of frame here. Okay. Check this out. It's my favorite skull. Check this out. It's my favorite skull. I like it better than my own. I don't know. All right. The other thing you could do is just use, I use these uni ball, like an office style pen a lot too. Your comics were always pretty much done in all caps, so that makes it easy on me. Just leave the all cap button on. Oops. Nice. Spelling isn't my jams either. The room went silent as the will was signed. I don't know. That's fine. Shh. Who gets his sit and spin? Let's see here. 'Tis mine. You may sit, but only I can spin. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Sit on this, jerk. Great. All right, so let's see here. Can we back this up at all? There it is. Grandma Gruesom's Dead Time Stories. Check this out. It's my favorite skull. I like it better than my own. The room went silent as the will was signed. Shh! Who gets his sit and spin? 'Tis mine. You may sit, but only I can spin. Sit on this, jerk. All right, you get to write whatever you want. In Vintage Horror Adult Coloring Book by Cheap Chills. It's taped down. There. By Cheap Chills. That's me. And again, that's available here on Amazon exclusively. By the way, let's see here. Can I show you one more thing? There's also the Vintage Romance Coloring Book. I'm not sure why it's not highlighting here. Oops. Vintage Romance. You're not going to highlight? Okay, fine. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, so yeah, if you pick up the Vintage Horror and you like it, there's a follow-up book, Vintage Romance. Same thing. These are like 110 pages, including these blank backs, but that's still over 50 images to color in. You got like haunted dummies. And these are from Real Classic Comics. And yeah, if you got somebody who's a fan of romance novels, Roy Lichtenstein, you know, that sort of thing, then I would pick up a Vintage Romance for them. Same thing, you can write your own captions in it. And lastly, like Lamont mentioned, this is being done through Adobe Creative Cloud's character animator for me, Grigor, your host. The rest obviously was done analog style with my own hands and coloring books, but Grigor here is through character animator. So if you want to do something like that, you're going to need to pick up the Adobe Creative Suite. So I linked that below also. And so that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And we will see you next time.